often as we went to church every year. So when I came to St. James, and then I had my daughter, we had a lot of children, a very active children's ministry, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, you really need to get her involved." So my daughter became an acolyte. She sang in the choir. She ushered, and so we just went to church on those Sundays whenever she had to serve. And so then one day she says, and she's like 5, "Mom, why do we only go to church on the Sundays that I have to do stuff? We should go to church every Sunday." And now she regrets it because she was like, "I just had to open my big mouth." And so I was, because at that point I was working there. So then once we got more involved, we were at church a lot. They grew up in the church. Her I also have a son, so they grew up in church. They would be at work with me on breaks and all that. So anyway, but we all served. So that's kind of how I got to be involved in St. James. And I did quite a few different things before really getting involved with the pantry. I did Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, which is so not me, but I loved it. You just never know where God is calling you to be. So I ended up doing the food pantry just because there was a need, and that was supposed to be me stepping in until someone else was found to take over. And we're still looking for someone else 10 years later to take over. So there's that, and it's a balance because I work at St. James, and the pantry is not my job. So, but and it's almost a full time job, just trying to coordinate that between orders and reports and volunteers and scheduling distributions and all of that. But I barely manage to make it work, and so it's great when we get partnerships. And Janet told you the story of how we came into partnership with St. Andrews, and it has been a real blessing because we get not just the support of you guys coming over when we have events, but we've also developed friendships. I count Janet and Melissa and Sarah as friends, and so it's just nice to go beyond. I think it's a learning experience for them to see our community and for us as well, because you're so used to always seeing things from, that point of view that you grew up in, or your culture. So that's been a blessing for us. So the first thing we did, as Janice said, was the food pantry. So they got to see that. We were operating our food pantry 3 times a month, but the the need for food has increased so much that there are more agencies at Harvesters, which is where we get pretty much all of our food. So it's harder to access food to feed all of our clients. So that became a struggle for us. So we went from 3 times a month to twice a month. And then within that, we started kind of unofficially. We would do adult underwear and diapers for children as we could get them. Um, Also, never really sure harvester's availability. You never know what you're going to get from one week to the next. So in a meeting with here, right over here at HJ's with Janet and the whole group, Dr. Richards, Yvette, she talked about some of the things that, she dreamed up for our outreach ministries. And so we were talking about Happy Bottoms, and we had tried to apply for Happy Bottoms before, and I'm not sure exactly what happened, but it just never worked out. We mentioned it, and again, God, Janet says, "Oh, we know some people at Happy Bottoms. We'll reach out." Um, like a couple of days later, we get an email from Happy Bottoms, and everything gets in motion, and we became a Happy Bottoms agency. And so this is what, like year 3 of being a Happy Bottoms agency. But not to say it would have never happened, but we tried before and it didn't work until we met the right people who were able to help us, get in the door there. So we did that. And then one of the other things we really noticed was a need for, I don't know if you all have heard of what's called the pink tax, but for women, feminine hygiene products cost so much more than just basic hygiene items. And so if someone is food insecure, then there are probably some other areas in their lives that they need support as well. So we found that feminine hygiene items are one of those things. And that can be something that is, I mean, it's really personal, but if you don't have what you need, that makes it hard just to even go out and just, live a normal life if you have to worry about those things. So um, we partnered with St. Andrews to start our feminine hygiene ministry. And so we do that on the same day that we do the Happy Bottoms. Um, we get a lot of support there. Then we also get support with our adult underwear ministry because that was something that I had never thought about before. But we service a lot of seniors. We have um, three senior living communities that we partner with that we provide food for. And so we found that adult underwear and wipes were a big need for them. So we've been able to accomplish that. And one of the things I really love about our adult, what do we call it, personal care ministry. When we are packing the feminine hygiene kits, some of the ladies from St. Andrews come over and they sit down with the ladies from St. James and put these kits together, but they get to talk to each other and get to know each other and share about their lives and their families. So we're not just connecting and serving the community, we're also building relationships between the churches, which is something that Janet and I both talked about, that we wanted to go a little deeper and get to know each other on a more personal level. So all of this together has really allowed us to be able to do that. And so we've been very blessed and so grateful. Oh, and I don't want to leave out, this year was the first year we did, well, two things. Another one I left out. We have a connecting community. And so 2 or 3 times a year, we'll get together on a Saturday and we'll have like a big food distribution. And we try to also wrap that around. We have Betty Lou's Closet, which is sometimes new, but mostly gently used clothing for men, women, and children. We'll also have household items. So we'll have a Saturday when we do that, and all of the ministries will come together. And so we partner with St. Andrews to do those as well. And then we have our Thanksgiving food distribution. That's a big thing for us. This year was the first year we wanted to do a community dinner. It went well. We didn't have the attendance from the community that we hoped for, but we're starting early to talk about that this year. And so we're going to get more teams involved, more people from both churches as we plan it and go along so that we can get that promoted, because the event itself again was nice. It just we had more volunteers than we had people who came to eat. So that was a disappointment. But again, that was another opportunity for us as people just to fellowship with each other between the two congregations. But that wasn't our ultimate goal. So we're gonna strategize and talk about that more for this year so that we can reach that goal. Oh, and we just started the pet ministry. So actually, yesterday was the first week, the first month that, and we'll do that on the fourth Wednesday of every month, was so we were able to provide dog food and cat food. And Janet is such a go-getter. She says, I'm her boss. I don't know about that. So she came to me and said, we want to do pet food. And I said, well, I don't even know if there's a need for pet food. And she said, oh no, we've already surveyed the clientele and asked if, this was something they needed or they would want. And they did. And so we gave out all of the cat food yesterday. We had a few bags of dog food left over, but our clients were very happy to get that, because again, if food is something you're struggling to provide for yourself and your children, and if you have pets, that's probably also another need you're going to have. So that was a great thing. And then I'm just saying that's it, but then Free Store. So that's probably the biggest of all of them. If you all know anything about, Free Store, since I've heard about it, Melissa's been kind of spearheading that. But they were looking to do something different with Free Store from past years. And so our location kind of made us a prime place to have it. And the first year we did it, we were really worried about, would people show up? Would it be a success? And man, did people show up. I mean, we we just were not prepared for it. But each year it has gotten better and better, and to the point that this year we're going to do Free Store 2, which will be a summer event. that'll be focused more on kids with them being out of school and providing resources for that. So we're excited about that, and I think that's really it this time. So, are there any questions? Is that what we're doing now? Oh, and before you do questions, I'll tell you all how you can be involved if you want to do that. So the feminine hygiene kits we pack maybe it just depends on how many people come through that receive them. We usually do like 1 to 200 of them at a time, and then when we do the Happy Bottoms, we do the feminine hygiene kits then. So there's an opportunity to assemble kits, and then there's also an opportunity to do distribution for those along with Happy Bottoms. They do some sorting for Happy Bottoms, and then when we do the adult underwear, they package those and sort. So there's another opportunity to get involved, and then the food pantry itself, we generally partner when people from St. Andrews come over on the fourth Wednesday, and our pantry is from 4 to 5:30. But if that doesn't work, we also have time during the day on that same day that we have distribution that we start to assemble boxes, the food boxes. So we do that starting at usually at 9 a.m. on that Wednesday. So those are times that if anyone is interested in getting involved on a regular schedule. And then when we have special events, Janet usually does a very good job, she and Sarah, of getting the word out to let people know what they can sign up for. So, yes. Well, my children are adults now. Praise the Lord. My daughter's 29 and my son is 21. So, yes. 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 That's why I said I barely managed to make it all work. And we couldn't do it really without partnerships like with St. Andrews. So, yeah. Yes, thank you.
Okay, just sorry. The needs of the community. How have you seen a shift? Are you projecting a shift? And how are you able to pivot to do that?
That could be tricky. Yes, we have seen a shift. We anticipate another shift. So one of the biggest shifts that we have noticed is the um, the backgrounds of the people who are coming to the pantry. So initially, it was mostly people who lived in the neighborhood, and they were all African American. Then during the pandemic, we started to see more Caucasian people come through. We saw Middle Eastern. I mean, there was a little bit of everything, and Latinos, and now it's kind of we're seeing more white people and we're seeing more Latinos, especially if I'm wrong, let me know, Janet. But with Happy Bottoms, there are so many, and so it's there's a little bit of a language barrier there, so that's tough because we want to know what we can do to as we get food in. We want to try to respect people's cultures as well. So one thing we noticed during the pandemic was we got a lot of Muslim people, and so they didn't eat pork, and then a lot of them also didn't eat beef. So when we have meat, then what do we do? How do we provide for them? And then if you have the ones who only eat, it's not kosher, but if you were Muslim, I can't. It's like halal. Yes. So they there would be that type of product available sometimes for harvesters, but it was twice the price of regular food. So that was just always a struggle. But as we've added on these other things to kind of wraparound services, those were the things we started to notice. People need hygiene items. People need laundry detergent. So at one point, we're still doing it. That may be going away. I'm not sure. Loads of Love, once a month, we do laundry service over at, there's a laundromat right on the corner of 55th and Paseo. And so we go over there once a month, every third Saturday. But the ownership of that has changed. And so the partnership that we did have with them, they would contribute like half of the price of whatever laundry was. And so at one point it was $500 a month on our half, and then they were contributing 500, and then they said no, we can't do that. So that changed, and now they don't contribute anything at all, which is fine. You know, we do what we can with what we have. So that was another big thing that we noticed. What else? And then the hygiene items, like I said, that was another big thing. So.
Hello. Um, I used to do the Saturday Loads of Love, and I didn't know it was still going on. I thought it had stopped.
No, it didn't stop. It may, as we
Yeah.
restructure. We're looking for possibly another space because what we found is they've increased the prices at the laundromat, and it's like 25 cents for 5 minutes of dryer time. What are you going to dry in 5 minutes? You know, so there's another laundromat a little further away up on Truce. So we're looking to see if we can partner with someone else to do that. Are they? Yeah. Yeah. We've even talked about, we have a conference room that we don't use anymore. We'd even talked about the possibility of putting a laundry facility in there in the building. I think I've talked them out of it though, because I don't think they realize like the liability of having an in-house laundromat and also just the maintenance and upkeep of it. So, yeah. But it's something that we're really passionate about, but as I keep trying to tell everyone, we can't do everything for everybody, so let's figure out what we can do and focus on those and make the most impact in those things. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, come on. There it.
Yeah. My son has his best friend's his sister. She speaks fluent Spanish, and she's a native speaker. So we're trying to see if we can get some of them as they look for service hours. That maybe we could get someone to come and interpret. Just because even when they come through the pantry, it's hard. I mean, just saying how many children are in your household. You know, how many people over the age of 65. That much is a language barrier. So we definitely need to have an interpreter there.
Maybe that's something that we could sort of let the St. Andrew's Parish know. There might be someone who could do that. Yeah. Yeah, she grew up in Mexico, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be great. If you can share that information with Janet, that would be great. Yeah. And another thing, we don't often do the food pantry on the same time that we do the diapers because it can be a little chaotic. But we noticed that almost every family who came to get diapers also, came to get food. But they don't necessarily come if there aren't diapers because it's a bit of a hassle for them. So that may be something for us to kind of revisit and see if we can do something about that.
we're cutting it off now. And Nairobi, Janet, thank you very much, both of you. And now I will introduce Kathy. Is there already a mic up there? Okay, that one seems to be working. All right, our next speaker is Kathy Mosley. She is going to be talking to us about Rose Brooks House and Pet Ministries, which is near and dear to my heart. A little bit about Kathy. She has been a member of St. Andrews since 1975. She and her late husband Richard were married there, and church was always an important part of their 45-year marriage. Their children were brought up in the church, were acolytes. She now recruits her grandkids from Texas when they come up to visit to volunteer at the food pantry or to help with Vacation Bible School. She serves as an outreach chair for Trinity Guild and is on the Outreach Commission, leading Rose Brooks and the Pet Ministries. Kathy and her husband started St. Andrews connection with Rose Brooks, a domestic violence shelter, well over 25 years ago, putting on craft-making parties and later a volunteer program with Trinity Guild in Rosie's Closet, the clothing store for the residents. Kathy, at her dog's request, Charlie, started a pet ministry program in 2019, which is involved with providing food to other pet organizations working with low-income families. They help out with the Pet Blessings and Strut With Your Mutt at both Pet Blessings at Strut With Your Mutt, which is put on by Wayside Waifs, and also at our church. And in 2025, she will be starting a Touch More Paws pet food program for St. Andrews food pantries. She serves as a weekly volunteer at the St. Paul's Food Pantry, does pet-related activities at Vacation Bible School, and likes to volunteer for one-day church volunteer opportunities throughout the year. Every day, she and Charlie, her adorable dog, take treks 3 to 4 miles on trails through neighborhoods and end up in at least 2 good dog parks. So I'm going to turn it over to Kathy. Should I leave this mic up here?
And I like to multitask, so you all have a project that I'm going to have you do. Okay. Oh, it's on. Okay, so I just need to hold it. Okay, so I like to multitask, and so I need you to help me by bagging up snack kits that will go to Rose Brooks. And there are 40 kids that we're trying to do it for, so I should have like 40 plastic bags, and you end up putting, so this is like one that would have a drink in it, and then I have a smaller one that is just sort of snacks that's kind of left over because I didn't have an even number. But I think you end up with about like 5 snacks and a drink. So if you can do that, and if you run out of things to do, run over and grab more. But one drink goes in the large ones, and the small ones probably don't fit the drink, something like that. Okay, and then also in the background, I'm going to be talking about both Rose Brooks and Pet Ministry kind of simultaneously. So you'll see pictures of all of them that hopefully will just keep playing and playing, and I can see what's playing right now. All right. So I'm Kathy, and I lead two ministries, Rose Brooks and Pet Ministry. And tonight I wanted to tell you about each ministry and the reason I volunteer, and how those ministries have how the people that volunteer, how all that's impacted them. And I have some scriptures that I will share that have kind of helped me out. So I spoke to the director of Rose Brooks, and she said that the children's grant that was used to help purchase snacks has ended, and that's why we're doing it. So we're helping by making after-school snack kits for the kids, and so I need like 40 of them and so I'll take them to Rose Brooks afterwards. Huh? About five snacks per bag. 5 or 6, can go in a bag, and a drink. 5 or 6 and a drink, something like that. So first of all, I'll talk to you about, and then also, because I help out with OSL and Pet Ministry, I'll kind of be bringing up some of those things too. So Rose Brooks is more than a shelter for victims of domestic abuse. It's about saving lives. And Rose Brooks' center is focused on helping and healing individuals and their families and even their pets from domestic abuse. And there are more with large bags all around. And there might be some over there too. While hundreds of individuals find safety in emergency shelter, thousands more are served each outside of the shelter. And they accomplish this through community-based programs and services that they've been doing this for over 45 years. And a domestic abuse victim can be a man, woman. It could involve pets. The pet shelter at Rose Brooks was started because of a pet that saved its owner, and that's what took place. So they address physical abuse, emotional, sexual, and financial abuse. And the ones who stay at Rose Brooks and who we encounter are there because their life has been threatened. And many times the children stay with them, but a lot of times they don't because of the situation that they're coming from. The kids just aren't safe, and so they have either gone to a relative's house or maybe have even been put in a foster care situation. My husband started Rose Brooks probably in the 1990s. After he retired, he wanted to help people, although he had been doing volunteer work from, I think, infancy. It's like forever. And so one reason I found out indirectly through my kids who had talked to relatives, because Richard didn't communicate this to me, he had dated a woman prior to us dating who was a victim of domestic abuse. And I think that's what really got his interest in it. And he started volunteering as a Rose Brooks court advocate and did volunteer follow-up phone calling for him. And then he and I started talking, and he wanted to do more, and the church was also growing outreach ministries. And so he started recruiting people from church to put on cookie and craft making parties at Halloween and on Mother's Day. And that's what a lot of these pictures show that. They're kind of old pictures. And at first it was just geared for the kids to do, and the moms would come in with their child and sit back and they wouldn't participate. But then they started looking at what the kids are doing, and they acted like they really wanted to, and so they'd sort of quietly ask if they could help. And so soon the kids and the moms were doing it. And one mom had commented to me, she says, "I've never been able to have a chance to do anything like this before. I don't know what it's like." So she felt really good, and then pretty soon they just kept coming and coming, and but then when COVID hit, and as people were getting older, we lost our volunteers, so we are not doing those cookie and craft making parties. And so I'm hoping that somebody here might feel a nudge to restart that. Beverly Rush, as probably a lot of you know, was one of our volunteers, and she thought, well, I want to do more than just help out there. And so what she would do is she would go to thrift stores and collect cups, like china cups and real pretty cups. and she would just bring a box load of them to Rose Brooks and then give them, leave them in the cafeteria, and the women could drink out of regular china cups or pottery cups instead of paper cups. And also another incident that happened at Rose Brooks when we were having a Halloween craft party, this one cute little girl was painting a pumpkin, and she was so intent and so happy and all, and she smiled and showed it to us afterwards, and it had tears running down its eyes. So so really that art therapy was kind of art therapy and kind of helped bring out her emotions. Then a few years, like around COVID time or around a little after that, Trinity Guild had a speaker who wanted, who was a volunteer volunteer director at Rose Brooks, and so she spoke about domestic violence and also told us about opportunities. And there were several of us afterwards who were interested, so 6 of us went through the training program, and now we go once a month on Saturdays from 9 until noon and help out the women in a place called Rosie's Closet. There are allotted volunteer opportunities at Rose Brooks, but one is Rosie's Closet. And so when women come there, and men, because there have been men staying at the shelter too, when they come, they are coming from the hospital, they're coming from a police car, or they're coming from, they don't come unless their life has been threatened. And there have been women who have recovered from broken necks. There was one woman who had her arm in a cast out here and another leg broken. You'll see repeat people coming back and back. And so what we do when we go there is we're supposed to help them be available when they shop, but we really just laugh and have a good time. And Jenny Alexander is one of the personal shoppers, and so she has done that in the past, so she knows how to really get people going and, oh, this looks real good on you. There was one incident that I remember when I was volunteering in Rosie's Closet. There's a woman who was a client there, and she was just staring at the makeup because we had makeup there. And you give them about 30 minutes to shop, and then there's so many people that want to come in, you have to kind of limit the time. And so this one was just staring and staring, and she was doing it for like 25 minutes. And so I asked, well, is there anything I can help you with? And she said, I just don't know what to choose, because she says, my husband never let me go to the store or do anything like that. So this was like a brand new thing. Plus, and so I think that what we do there is very, really helps them out a lot. A key part of our focus, so that's it on Rose Brooks. So now I'll talk about pet ministry, and then you'll see more pictures going around, and you'll see some dogs. Okay, that's a dog. Those 2 dogs are from senior facility, and I can tell you about more of the pets. Okay, pet ministry is an outreach ministry that was started in about 2019, and there were 3 of us who had certified pet therapy dogs through Pets for Life, and we all went over to Brighton Gardens. And so we were talking one time with her and saying, we ought to do something like this at church, or see if there's an interest. So maybe it was a God moment, or maybe something else prompted it, but we started to talk to the church about it and how we could we get something going. So what we came up with was the idea of a ministry that provides family and their pets support through all seasons of a pet's life. And we wanted to help both dogs and cats. And a key part of our focus was to look at pet organizations that were grassroots and focused on needy people with pets. Because there are some of the bigger pet organizations around, but the ones that we really focus on have no brick and mortar. It's just strictly volunteer run, and they may just be people fostering animals, but they also have a community element where they are able to get dog food and cat food, and they go around in the community and talk to the families and either provide food for them, but also some of these people really should not keep their pet because maybe they have them chained outside in the middle of winter in sub-zero weather. And so they have to graciously and carefully figure out how to talk to them and see if there's a way to change that. So that's kind of who we support. And then last year, Sarah had a nice idea that we needed to look at older pets because there are a lot of senior pets. So what we've done now, here's what our pet ministry looks like. We focus on grassroots volunteer organizations who focus on low-income families, and we provide pet food, pet supplies, and outdoor safety and winter dog coats. So we serve Heart of America Humane Society, the Rescue Project, Chain of Hope, and Imagine Forever Ranch for senior pets. And the two dogs that you saw in the cage together were senior dogs who were like old dogs, and they could not get adopted. No, they finally were, and so they had a forever home. But that's a real good place to go out. So parishioners will donate dog food, cat food, and many times give us gently used pet equipment or other supplies that their pet have used. So I just got from a couple of people this week some dog toys and things that I'll take to either Rose Brooks Pet Shelter, Imagine Forever Ranch, or St. Paul's Food Pantry, one of those. Last year, parishioner Cindy Roth lost her dog. And she was kind enough to think of pet ministry and donated a lot of things, including a large bottle of Cosequin. And I knew an older woman at St. Paul's Pantry who was a regular shopper, and she always brought her chubby Lhasa Apso with her. So she had been talking about her dog's health and how he just froze. He couldn't move or anything. And her dog was her companion, was kind of her whole life. And so I knew she would be coming pretty soon, so I sort of held back the bottle and I waited for her. And so when she came, I said, "Oh, would you like this bottle of Cosequin?" It had not been opened, and it's like a real expensive bottle of medicine for a dog that will help joints and aches and pains. So she was very delighted. And then when planning for 2025, Pet Ministry saw a huge need based on survey at St. Paul's Food Pantry, and then later at St. James and Andy's Pantry. We saw a huge need for pet food at the pantries that we serve. And so we had a dream of coming up with a program called Touch More Paws, where we provide dog or cat food to these pantries. And so it would be to give to St. Paul's, St. James, and Andy's Pantry. Trinity Guild, the Women's Guild, every year donates money for worthy causes. And so this year, they were able to donate a large chunk of money to St. James / Pet Ministry so we could begin the program. And so that's where yesterday was the first time that we were able to provide dog and cat food. And there really is a need. There is a need. And when I have given dog food out to people, this one man, you should have seen the smile on his face, and he says, "I have 4," like, he's a big guy, and he says, "I have 4 kids at home." And he says, "I just have a hard enough time keeping food on the table for them, much less try to feed my dog." And so this was really a godsend to him. Pet Ministry also partners with Children's Ministry to help do service projects benefiting pets and people who have pets. And the kids make rainbow pet remembrance keychains. So if you ever know of someone who has lost their pet, you go to the church office and there's a basket and you can pick one of the pet remembrance keychains, and it's been made by someone, by one of the kids. Also, Pet Ministry and Fabric for Life have partnered together. Donna Adams, who was a Fabric for Life, or the Quilting Guild, must have been listening to her dog Darcy one day, because she told Pet Ministry that the Guild wanted to make pet beds and wondered if we could use them, and we definitely could. So we now give them to Imagine Forever Ranch and Rose Brooks. And Well, there she is. There's Donna and and Darcy there. There's one picture that you'll maybe see of a dog that's propped up on a pillow, and it's actually a relative's dog. And yeah, right there. And he was really in bad shape. I was babysitting him for like a week, and the owner, my niece, had to have him put down the day after she got back from vacation. But he was unable to stand up to eat, and so I would lay him over this pillow, and those pillows they make are just wonderful. And so it propped him up enough that he could eat his food because his legs would splay out afterwards. Okay, and then in September, we use volunteers for St. Andrew's Pet Blessing booth at Strut With Your Mutt, and that's a fun thing to do. And in October, we use volunteers at the church Pet Blessing. And so I have on the tables handed out volunteer opportunities for Rosebrooks and Pet Ministry. But what I wanted to talk about is why I volunteer. I volunteer because I feel like something's missing if I don't. I think I've actually volunteered. It just depends on the phase of your life, what you do. I think I started at age 10 doing stuff for UNICEF, and then I have just kind of continuously big brothers, big sisters, but now at church I do this. And so I volunteer because I feel like something's missing if I don't volunteer. And I feel happy, relaxed, inspired, grateful, and life just goes better for me. It lets me look at my own problems in a different way, and I just feel like I learn so much. I love being around people, and the ones I serve are struggling in some way, but they're doing the very best they can despite their circumstances, and their resiliency is what encourages me. I even see this when I work with animals. Many of the animals have had a tough life, yet they don't hold grudges, and they're forgiving, and they act like you're the best thing you've ever seen. Seeing a parishioner with a bag of dog food, which happens at times, gets me so excited because I know specific people at these pantries who really could use the food or could use a piece of equipment that they might be dropping off. And so it gets me thinking, how can I help somebody else by seeing other people's generosity? I also volunteer so that I can place myself in situations where I can learn and talk to a person that I normally wouldn't talk to. I witness transformations, and all of that gives me hope. There's a crack-addicted homeless woman who 2 years later came back to the food pantry smiling. She had a new set of teeth. She was dressed pretty, had gained 30 pounds, and had a place to live and a job. And she smiled so big when I said, "Cherie, is that you?" And it was. I mean, it was just unbelievable seeing her. And then there was a woman who, after 3 years of being kidnapped, escaped her kidnapper. She'd been kidnapped across state lines. She had fled her victim and was now in a place where she could relax and just talk and not be afraid. And she had been like a bank manager or something. I mean, she had and it's like, how can you get in this situation? But you could just tell her real self had been gone, and now it was starting to come back. And there was a woman who spent 20 minutes just staring at makeup because she couldn't decide what to get. And she said her husband wouldn't let her get any, and it had been so long since she could get something herself, so it was hard to make a choice. There was a trucker who was in tears because he was able to rescue and adopt a dog one day away from being put down. And he's one of the dogs that I have. He's the dog that's in the cage with the little boy. And so this dog, the guy said, "Oh, that what I'm hoping is that this dog likes to ride in trucks because I'm a cross-country trucker, and I will let him be my companion and go with me. But if that doesn't work out, that my wife and daughter just love dogs, and they had 3, and he says, we'll just keep the dogs at that house. And we don't believe in keeping in crates or cages or anything like that. We just let them roam free and do all that." And then there was a 12-year-old cat, and you'll see the picture of Cat, and her name is Jenny, whose owner had to go to a nursing home. And so we matched her with Fred. And he was a 98-year-old man who lived his remaining 2 lives. Yes, that's Fred. Fred and Jenny. And he was like in perfect health. He was living alone in his house. His wife had died. I mean, it's funny how through connections you can get all this stuff worked out. And then all of a sudden, after he turned 100, something happened and he had to go to a nursing home. But when he got there, he was only there for like 2 weeks and died. But during that 2 weeks, he prearranged with a woman at the nursing home, like one of the nurses there, to adopt the cat. So the cat, who was related to a St. Andrew's parishioner, has now gone on to a forever home. And then there was a woman who brought her small dog, and you'll see him in one of the pictures, to the pet blessing this last year, and he was in a stroller. And she wanted him blessed one more time before she had to put him down due to his age, illness, and paralysis. So all those things, a lot of this stuff you aren't really doing volunteer work, but you're just like seeing this stuff and you're around the people and you can talk to the people. And that's what I just get so much out of doing it. So what do I get out of it? I get an appreciation for life, for having the privilege of connecting with and witnessing someone's joy, their sorrow, their frustration, their appreciation. And when you have the opportunity to listen to people, they can be really honest with their life. And many times I see similarities in our life experiences. While talking with a man who was homeless and literally lived on the streets for 14 years, I found out that he graduated from a Shawnee Mission school, served in the Army, was the youngest of 9 brothers and sisters, and loved his mother's smoked oysters. So sometimes I'd like go to the pantry and I'd bring some cans of smoked oysters with me and put them in his Pop-Top bag. So, and then we even compared PT stories when he got beat up and in the hospital and after I broke my wrist. So I feel so proud of these people I encounter because their persistence in living life the best they can. That's what kind of inspires me. And being part of Pet Ministry and also OSL, which is the Order of St. Luke, a prayer ministry, gives me confidence to go up to strangers and their dogs, which I do, and my kids get embarrassed because I do it. And I recently did that at Meadowbrook Park. I spotted a woman who was sitting with her Wheaton, and so I sort of talked to her, and she said that he won't move. He hasn't been moving for the last several weeks, and she says, I'm just trying. But she told me about all the vet appointments she had, how she was concerned he had cancer, and all his blood tests were bad, and this and that, and she just was looking gloom. But we were kind of talking, and then I was about ready to walk off, and then I thought, no. So I stopped, and I said, I'm involved with Pet Ministry and a prayer group at my church and wondered if she'd like me to ask them to pray for her pet. And you should have seen the expression on her face. I mean, she was so relieved and thankful, and she said yes. And where do you go to church? And so I let OSL right away before I got in the car. I let them know about it, and so people could pray for her pet. So what impact do the volunteers with Rose Brooks and Pet Ministry have upon the people they serve? Well, I think the people feel